Good evening. We begin tonight with President Trump's new tariffs, taxes on imports that range from a minimum of 10% on goods from nearly every country to over 50% when it comes to China. And tonight, says major markets tumble across Asia and U.S. stock futures drop 2 to 3%. The first changes, a 20% markup on vehicle imports, have just gone into effect. We'll get to local reaction in just a moment. But first, to the big picture from NBC's Julie Sirkin in Washington.
Liberation Day.
It's Liberation Day, according to President Trump.
It's our declaration of economic independence.
Unveiling the largest tariff package in generations.
We will charge them approximately half of what they are and have been charging us. So the tariffs will be not a full reciprocal. I could have done that, yes, but it would have been tough for a lot of countries who didn't want to do that.
The president has already imposed tariffs on U.S. allies Mexico and Canada, plus a 20% tax on goods imported from China. The leaders of Mexico and Canada are banding together, promising to boost trade between the two nations. And on Thursday, a new tax on all foreign-made cars and parts.
This is not Liberation Day, it's Recession Day in the United States of America. That's what the Trump tariffs are going to do.
Experts say expect prices to go up, anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000 on foreign cars and $3,000 to $8,000 for domestic brands.
We just bought a new car, so because we were thinking of all the tariffs and everything and how everything is going to go up.
I'm not really worried because I don't know how long they're going to be in place.
While Americans are bracing for the unknown, Democrats are pushing back.
But this is not about fentanyl. It's about tariffs. It's about a national sales tax on American families.
Today, forcing a vote on a bill to do away with the tariffs on Canada. Even some Republicans are on board, including those bordering our northern neighbor.
Maine also sends between $200 million and $400 million worth of lobster to Canada each year for processing.
In Washington, Julie Sirkin, NBC News.
Let's bring in Alma McCarty now. Alma, you've been looking at potential impacts here in the Northwest, including in the construction industry. What have you learned?
Yeah, that's correct, David. I spoke with the local chapter of the Associated General Contractors of America. They're expecting to see the full effects in this industry a year from now and say it's not looking good.
From electronics to automobiles, coffee to clothing, new tariffs are likely to mean higher prices in dozens of industries.
It will interrupt the ability for us to get the materials that we need to actually do the work.
Mike Salzgiver is the CEO of the local Associated General Contractors chapter, which represents commercial contractors building everything from high-rises to highways.
All the big stuff.
The industry is reliant on foreign imports for much of their materials. Salzgiver says contractors who are still feeling the effects of the pandemic will now face more disruption and delays.
I've been around this industry a long time, and my biggest worry is that what is being communicated to the public as wanting to be helpful will actually have the opposite effect.
While the president touted his new plan as a new golden age for America, bringing back manufacturing and jobs to the United States, some experts aren't so sure.
We haven't seen a trade policy where you're putting up barriers that has promoted growth.
Dr. Brian Adams is a professor of finance at the University of Portland. He explains it won't be immediately possible for industries to shift to American-made products.
The logistics of moving manufacturing from a foreign country into the U.S. is not something that can be done over the short run. It generally takes years for that to happen.
Okay, Alma, the White House is asking folks to take a longer-term view here. In the shorter-term industries, say construction, are they looking at supply chain issues, for example, there. What about from the taxpayer perspective, though?
Yeah, well, Salzgiver tells me that 60% of the work that this association does, his members do, is actually publicly funded. So if you consider the taxes that you pay, the buying power of all of that drops, meaning it will just likely cost more and take longer for some of these public projects to be done.
Yeah, understand. understandable, and amidst all this uncertainty, and it's only day one here.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Elma. Appreciate it. Hey, we're going to stick with tariffs right now and talk a little bit more about the 25% tariff on vehicle imports and vehicle parts with some carve-outs for Canada and Mexico. Today, we caught up with an auto repair shop in Portland, the owner telling us if you're thinking of buying a vehicle or getting repairs, it would be best to get going now.
Overseas, it's going to increase the cost, but as a repair shop, the cost gets passed on along to the customer. And a lot of the repairs are just, you need to do it. An average repair might increase the cost, maybe 10% overall.
All right, 10%, there's a ballpark there. He also expects to start seeing price increases from suppliers in about a week. Stay with KGW and NBC News for continuing coverage of the new Trump tariffs. Remember, you can check out local headlines anytime at KGW.com and on our streaming TV app that is KGW+. Developing tonight, severe thunderstorms, many with tornadoes, have killed at least one person and destroyed property in Missouri, Illinois, Arkansas, and Kentucky. A witness recording this video in Lunsford, Arkansas this evening as a massive tornado swept across that area. The Missouri Highway Patrol saying one person was killed in the southeastern part of that state. Flooding has also been reported in many spots and is likely to get worse with heavy rain expected to last days. Let's go right to Chief Meteorologist Matt Savino tracking the severe weather. Matt?
Yeah, David, this is a pretty nasty cold front that's marching through the east right now. You can see it here to the east of Chicago, out near Cleveland, really from Toronto down through Memphis, basically, is where we're seeing the most active weather at this time. And we zoom in a bit, and you can see those thunderstorms extend clear on down to Memphis, too. So this is a long and widespread area of severe thunderstorms. We still have active tornado warnings from the Memphis area up through Tennessee and Kentucky, one very close to Cincinnati as well, and then severe thunderstorm warnings where you see the orange. So again, it continues, even though it's like 2 in the morning back in the East Coast. So really, really rough night back that way. Yes, winter weather advisory, that's for northern New England, where they'll get several inches of snow there. And speaking of snow, we've got some of the Cascades, but look at all of these severe weather reports. The red circles are tornadoes, at least a dozen from Memphis up through Indiana. I've seen hail, 2.5 inches in diameter, wind gusts over 70 miles an hour, and an inch or two of rain just from these storms. So a really wild night back that way as that cold front continues to march to the east. I mentioned the snow. Look at Timberline, still snowing up there. There's been 10 inches of new snow since yesterday, so it's been coming down pretty good. It's down to 24 degrees. And coming up later, we'll show you the time lapse of this rainbow. A real beauty over downtown Portland, and that portends some really beautiful weather and warm, dry weather for a few days. David?
Always good to see one of those. Thanks, Matt. Developing tonight, a 68-year-old FedEx worker says she is thankful to be alive after a dog attacked her in Northeast Portland. A warning that details and photos in the story are disturbing. Giovanni Johnson said she was walking from her car last week to her office at 7th and Broadway. She says the dog suddenly latched onto her left calf and would not let go for over 5 minutes. She says its owner, who appeared to be homeless, saw what was happening but did not step in.
I was thinking, I don't want to lose my leg, and I want someone to help me, because the more he keep chopping, the more I feel my leg and my foot going numb. And I mean, I had to call 911 for myself.
You keep hearing these stories over and over again, and now I'm dealing with it with my mother, and it's not fair. It's not fair.
Well, that was Giovanni's daughter, who says she feels that owners of aggressive dogs are not properly punished. Now, since the attack, Giovanni has undergone 3 surgeries to save her injured leg. The dog is with Animal Services, who are moving to classify it as dangerous. To get you caught up now on tonight's other headlines, a murder trial is underway for the man accused of shooting 2 people outside a Southeast Portland strip club. Prosecutors say surveillance video from the venue Gentlemen's Club last April proves Demaria Harris is responsible for the crime. One man survived, but 35-year-old Mario Camel Harris did not. Defense claims Harris is not responsible for the shooting and argues investigators never even found the murder weapon. A driver is facing criminal charges after investigators say he drove his SUV into a Max Orange Line train this morning. This was on the south end of downtown at Southwest Lincoln and Nato. No one was injured. 36-year-old Antoine Robinson was arrested and charged with reckless driving and endangerment. And a swollen river that's led to extreme flooding in southeast Oregon is expected to drop below flood stage tomorrow. The Silvis River in Harney County rose out of its banks late last week after a sudden warm-up led to rapid melting from a record snowpack. The lack of vegetation and massive burn scars from last summer's wildfires also accelerated that runoff. The National Weather Service says more rises are possible as warm weather returns. Well, new tonight in Northwest Washington, ICE agents say they took more than 3 dozen people into custody at a Bellingham roofing company. An ICE spokesperson saying the 37 people, quote, fraudulently represented their immigration status and submitted fraudulent documents to seek employment. A community member recording this video that appears to show uniformed agents standing outside with an SUV with a van and bus there as well. ICE says it was executing a federal search warrant. Protesters later gathered at an intersection.
I'm here as a member of my community. My community is made up of immigrants. My grandparents were immigrants. Pretty much, unless you're Native American, your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents, we're all immigrants.
The roofing company CEO said many of those impacted have worked for the company as tax-paying employees for years, if not decades, and said it is cooperating with authorities. ICE says those arrested were taken to a processing facility in Tacoma.